Garcia.
And I'm Leticia Williams, and we're from the Communication Department. Today we're going to be reviewing some of our key goals for our course redesign for the Summer Academy 2013. The course that we are redesigning is COM 8 Small Group Communication, and it fulfills the learning outcome for the A1 General Education Requirement Oral Communication. Currently, this primary learning outcome could be met more efficiently to give students a firm understanding of the fundamental principles of public speaking. A challenge in teaching this course is that it is a hybrid course, meaning it must fulfill all of those oral communication requirements I just discussed, but it also has to fulfill the learning outcomes for small group communication. So in essence, you have two courses combined in one.
Because of that challenge, we've decided that the linked workshop model works best for our course redesign. And what that means is that the course keeps its essential structure. It's a regular classroom structure, but it also adds a workshop component that students can do on their own time to supplement the information that they need. And so the best thing that we found that would work for us is using a flipped classroom model, meaning we would have online modules, learning modules, that students can access anywhere on their own time. They would see like a video-based lecture, do some activity, do an assessment, and then with that information, come into class already prepared for an interactive discussion. So class time is not wasted on like learning the concept. Rather, it's spent applying the concepts, which is definitely important.
So that application of concepts is one of the things that is different in how we are going to be teaching the course. So previously the course did not offer any type of modules or workshops outside of the classroom. And so with this online module that we are developing, it will give students the opportunities to learn the skills that they need and then be able to apply them in the classroom. Also, it was solely upon the professor to incorporate lessons that targeted public speaking at their own discretion. And so lack of time and the amount of material to cover was one of those challenges because in COM 8 there's a lot of group work that the students have to complete for their group project. They also have a service learning project, and so there just really isn't anywhere to add in any additional information that the students would be able to grasp effectively. So hopefully this will give instructors the ability to efficiently cover those basic principles of public speaking versus how it has previously been taught.
Now, how our course design is aligned with student learning outcomes, it is actually the major objective of this course redesign is to make sure that each section of our COM 8 or COM 7 classes is meeting those learning objectives, learning outcomes for the A1 general education requirement. They are currently being met, but we want to make sure they're met more effectively and more efficiently across all sections. And so through these modules, we're going to ensure that.
And since we are focusing on this one element of the course, our plan on assessing our course redesign is probably different from other plans that you have seen. So our main focus is going to be on assessing whether or not these modules actually help students learn the public speaking skills effectively. And to do that, we are going to be using some skills that are specific to the communication discipline. And these are skills that measure communication competence, self-efficacy, self-perceived public speaking competence, and also communication apprehension. So we'll be doing a pre and post design to where the students take the skills at the beginning of the semester and then again at the end of the semester so that we can compare what their communication competence is. And in addition to that, we'll be doing the regular assessments that assess the usability of the modules for students and then also for instructors, since it will be several instructors across sections that use our module.
Which leads us into timeline. How and when do we expect to implement this module? Well, we plan to like experiment and test out this redesign in fall 2013, and we'll be doing our assessments also in the fall, so that we can make any necessary changes in spring 2014. After hopefully we get all the kinks out of this redesign, we'll be going into full implementation in fall 2014. That is the current timeline for this redesign.
And I think that also leads into some of the critical things that we've learned during the academy. For us, one of the things that we learned the most was about learning outcomes and making sure that those outcomes correspond with course goals, assignments, and assessments. And so for us, as we are evaluating whether or not we need to make changes to the module, we're going to be sure that we keep going back to those learning outcomes and making sure that whatever changes we do correspond with those learning outcomes. Another thing that has been extremely helpful to us is technology, particularly because we're going to be putting these modules online on Blackboard. And so some of the things that we've learned are the Google Docs, which would be really helpful, especially for group work, so students could really collaborate on assignments. And one of the programs that we are going to be using in our redesign is SoftChalk. And we've decided to go with this program because it offers so many components that would not only make the modules more interactive for students, but also make them help instructors to implement the modules without adding too much additional pressure on them to be responsible for creating all the materials. So essentially with SoftChalk, we're going to be able to create the modules and then have them available for professors to upload into their Blackboard courses. And from there, students can not only learn the lessons, but we'll be able to embed videos and also quizzes so that we can check that they are, or activities so that we can check that they are really grasping the concepts that we want them to learn from the modules.
Now, with the use of all this technology, it brings up a few concerns, mainly technical literacy of both the instructor and the student. So because we have so many sections, so many students, we anticipate many questions about how to put the SoftChalk modules in Blackboard, and technical issues of that nature. So that's one concern we have. The other concern we have has to do with just the nature of our redesign. The fact that we're not redesigning an entire course, just certain components of a course that are measuring the A1 requirements. And so that leads to a challenge in assessment. How do we determine whether our redesign has been effective or not? And through the scales, the communication scales that we found, whether it's communication competence or communication apprehension scales, scales that are specific to our discipline, those will help us measure that progress more effectively for our purposes, we found.
And so that about sums up what our plan and our goal for our course redesign is. And with that, we would like to thank the course redesign team on campus, all of the facilitators that came out and presented during the Summer Academy. We'd also like to thank Tilt, Seat Salt, and Title V for all of their assistance and support. And we are extremely excited about this course redesign and the opportunity that it presents to really put the focus back on student-centered learning and ensure that these students are leaving these courses with the skills that we want them to. And so with that,
thank you again.
Thank
we had
you.
a great time, and you'll hear from us soon.
Thank you.
Bye.